The SEC just declared war on crypto. You thought they already were doing that with the previous lawsuits in the past, but they're continuing. They are now filing a lawsuit against Uniswap. We are going to talk about what this means for crypto, as this is the largest decentralized exchange in crypto. If you don't mind, hit subscribe. Turn on that bell notification underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this. And if you do want to trade cryptocurrency, there's a link to Margex underneath the video where you can trade cryptocurrency using leverage. There's also a link to CoinW underneath the video in case you want to trade on leverage or you want to buy spot. You can do that on CoinW as well. Now, there are a bunch of other links underneath the video in case you want to check them out. HGAlgo, HGAccess, a bunch of other platforms and stuff too in case you want to support the channel. But let's take a look at this. The SEC is now filing a lawsuit against Uniswap. The SEC has officially filed a lawsuit against the decentralized cryptocurrency exchange Uniswap. Indeed, the agency issued a Wells notice to the company on Wednesday to notify the business of an impending legal action planned against it. I see many people talking on Twitter about how there will be a lawsuit, but at this point it's just a Wells notice. On this article though, on watcher.guru, it does say that they've already filed a lawsuit, but I think it's really just a Wells notice, which typically comes right before a lawsuit. In a response to the notice, Uniswap founder Hayden Adams says he was not surprised, just disappointed in a post, and that they're ready to fight. Now, this did cause the price of Uniswap to fall down. It's down about 10% or so over the last 24 hours. And let's go over to this. Adam Cochran with his hot take on this. He says, unbelievable. Uniswap is 6 years old. For 6 years, the SEC has failed to provide any guidance on the space and now sends them a Wells notice. Let's get effing clear on something here. Moving into the thread, Uniswap Labs is a software publisher. They publish open source code and an open source front end. Unless the Wells notice specifically relates to Uniswap X routing, which even then is questionable, this is absolutely beyond the scope of the SEC. Furthermore, the SEC had years to provide guidance on these behaviors and chose not to. In fact, some of Uniswap's products are so old now that they actually are outside the statute of limitations for certain violations of the act. The SEC has continued to embarrass itself in courts with political cases that it cannot win time and time again and create a chilling effect on the U.S. market. And now they chose to go against another legitimate operator rather than the countless scams. It's true. We see them day after day. Hell, they lost the Ripple case on the grounds of programmatic transactions not counting as security transactions. The wallet as a broker argument was thrown out on the Coinbase case, and now they're trying to try front end as a broker. More importantly, if they take fault with the code itself, they'll open themselves up to an entirely new landscape because your right to publish code is protected free speech. So you can publish code. You as an individual can trade spot commodities with anyone you want. There is nothing illegal about providing an informational interface about the spot commodity prices or formatting numbers for a transaction. Uniswap is not responsible for listing or promoting the tokens because it's permissionless. And above all else, the SEC has failed in court to prove that these assets are not spot commodities with any clear application of the law. This is nothing more than another flagrant personal attack on the space by someone who doesn't understand the technology and is more worried about making a name for themselves than actually doing his job. And the SEC will lose yet again. Now, I think we've seen this in many of the cases recently where literally the judge said that the SEC's judgment was clouded and that it seemed like they're carrying out a personal vendetta against crypto companies. They've lost Coinbase. They've lost Ripple essentially. I don't know why this continues to happen, but I would not be surprised to see Gary Gensler be done after this term. It seems like he's pretty much failed, and I mean, some of the wealthiest people in the US hold crypto now, and they're pissed. They're pissed that we continue to have to go through this, and even if the SEC wins against Uniswap, right? Who's really protected? This is probably one of the best DEXs out there, probably the best DEX, and what happens? They get a big fine, and if the SEC loses, then we just have to flip the bill for this case. This is kind of unbelievable, but at the same time, very believable. Now, we do have some good news, okay? We have some good news. It's not all bad news. First of all, Bitcoin has moved up throughout the day. We fell down, obviously, after the CPI, and I said, hey, it's not anything to worry about. I think we're going to come right back up. I'm not worried at all long term. And we went from 67.4 all the way up back now to 69.7. So as long as you're cool with a little bit of volatility, you'd be fine. And we do have some good news too. Signal Advisors, a Michigan-based platform for independent financial advisors, reported owning 20,571 shares of the BlackRock Bitcoin ETFs in filing with the SEC. This isn't huge. This is not a huge amount. This is about, $800,000 worth of shares, but it's a start. We also got news here. Wealth manager Vedmont Private Capital reported it owns 3,471 shares of the Fidelity Spot Bitcoin ETF with the SEC. This is even less, but still, it is something. It's a good start to see some financial advisors, wealth advisors, starting to allocate towards Bitcoin. So we're going to continue to see this happen. I've never heard of either of these platforms before or either of these financial advisors. So I don't know if we have another 1,000 of these entities that go buy $800,000 worth of Bitcoin. I think we'll be just fine with another $800 million worth of Bitcoin being bought that we did not expect coming. So overall, not a terrible day, just kind of surprising with the Uniswap news. Now, this is important to remember. The halving is only 8 days out. Of course, we were looking at CPI. That's kind of short term. We have PPI tomorrow. But the halving changes Bitcoin forever. It cuts the new issuance in half. Historically, Bitcoin has always pumped after the halving. The first halving was an 8,000% gain. Second halving, 3,000. Third halving, 800%. And even if we just get 200% pump, Bitcoin will be already up to $200,000. That is kind of insane. Crypto Rover dropping some bombs on us there. But I do think that we are going to see a better bull market than a lot of people expect. There's less Bitcoin on exchanges. There are more entities with large amounts of capital buying than ever. We have more ETFs getting set for approval. And even after the ETFs are approved, as we said earlier in the video today, earlier today, it does take a while to get some people on board, like these financial advisors. This is not all that they're buying. It takes a while for them to start onboarding people to want to buy Bitcoin. But BlackRock's talking about a 1 to 3% allocation with their clients. Imagine, everyone holds 1 to 3% Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin is going well over $1 million if people allocate 1% of their wealth to Bitcoin, 3% to Bitcoin. But let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Again, if you do want to place longs on Bitcoin, I said this in yesterday's video, but it's still very true. I've talked to some people before recently that said they were kind of just waiting because we were trending sideways right now for Bitcoin, waiting to put some longs on. But this is when you typically want to go long on Bitcoin. Get it set up while we're in a boring period, so that way you're ready for the explosive breakout. Because if we go up to $80,000, you're going to be kicking yourself. And as you can see here, we've gotten higher lows. We've gotten 7 higher lows now. We got 59,000, 61,000, 62,000, 64,000, 64,500, 65,000, 66,000, now 67,400. How much are we going to be kicking ourselves when we just keep on moving up and we didn't get every position ready? Again, let me know your thoughts on this Uniswap case underneath the video, or this Wells notice. Let me know if you think the SEC should continue suing these companies. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I will see you in the next video.